Coming up on Grady Newsource, election results of the presidential primaries yesterday from Athens and surrounding counties, insights from an expert on the election outcome and what we can expect going into the November vote, also reactions to a bill passed by the U.S. House of Representatives that could lead to a ban on TikTok in the U.S. All of this and more, live at 5.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College of the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
And welcome to Grady Newsource. I'm Ashley Simmons. The results of Georgia's primary elections are in, with U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump as the winners. Grady Newsource reporters were on the scene in Athens and surrounding counties yesterday talking to voters about what brought them to the polls. But first, we have a developing story on reactions to a congressional bill passed that could ban TikTok in the U.S. Grady Newsource reporter Sarah Fredrickson joins us now from the newsroom with the latest. Sarah, you talked to the people on campus about this. What did they tell you?
Hi, Ashley. That's right. I spoke to a number of UGA students here today, and most of them agreed that they did not want a TikTok ban, but for multiple different reasons. Here's what they had to say.
Do you think TikTok should be banned in the U.S.? Why or why not?
No, I don't think it should be banned because that seems kind of like a limiting of your freedom of speech.
It's kind of something that's given me mixed feelings. I definitely think we need to get rid of TikTok off government-used computers. We need to get rid of TikTok, which has been federally done. Any state-issued devices. And I even think we should implement potentially an age limit for certain TikTok users.
Them did not want a TikTok ban, but they were open to some regulations. I talked to a social media professor here at UGA, and he said that there are some legit concerns, but there are broader issues that need to be addressed.
There's still the issues that may arise elsewhere. So are we just gonna be in the game of banning everything we're concerned about, or can we actually find ways to address and solve the problem?
The bill cites national security as its main concern for the ban, but the Senate has yet to vote on the decision. I'll keep you up with the latest news. For Grady Newsource, I'm Sarah Fredrickson. Back to you.
Now back to Georgia's elections. Democratic President Joe Biden and former Republican President Donald Trump won their primary party election in Georgia last night. Their wins bring them one step closer to securing their party nomination. Grady Newsource reporter Carly Ferris and Lucy Birch have the latest from Athens.
Clark County saw about 11% voter participation in yesterday's primary. 3,876 total votes were cast on Election Day, and another 3,901 were cast via absentee ballots and advanced voting.
If you do not vote, do not complain.
People we spoke to pointed out issues such as immigration, Social Security and Medicare cuts, and concerns over international conflicts.
I'm interested in things that have to do with older people, Social Security, Medicare, that type of thing, since those both affect me.
There has been much debate surrounding immigration policy following the death of Augusta University student Laken Riley. There have been calls for tighter border laws after the suspect in her killing was found to be an undocumented immigrant.
But I don't think her death should be politicized like it has been.
Mayor Kelly Gertz made an appearance at the Lay Parking Community Center polling station yesterday.
Unsurprisingly, I like democracy. I like the fact that we get to make selections in this nation.
There were several new polling locations this election cycle, including the Millage Avenue Baptist Church, which was added to provide more parking and space to spread out voting booths.
One of our duties as the superintendent of elections is to protect the secrecy of the ballot and your right to cast a ballot secretly and fairly.
It is now 7 p.m. and voting is officially closed. Athens residents have been making their way to polling locations just like this one to cast their vote. Polling volunteers have let us know that turnout has actually been a little lower than they expected this year.
While voter turnout for the primary election in Jackson County was light, Grady Newsource reporter Molly Landon spoke to voters yesterday about their main reasons for voting. Let's see what Election Day in Jackson County looked like.
It's Election Day, and I'm here at one of Jackson County's 4 polling locations, and on today's ballot is the 2024 presidential primary election. Let's hear from some Jackson County voters about what brought them out to vote today.
It's our civic duty to vote.
And we wanted to vote where ID is required and where there's people that we know and trust running the election.
Because that's one thing that they can't take away from you as long as we at least vote.
Well, tired of what's going on in our government.
Because every American citizen should vote.
Jackson County residents voted yesterday on the presidential primaries and the District 5 Board of Commissioners seat. Trump won a little over 88% of Republican votes, and Biden won a little over 90% of Democratic votes. In the race between Cole Elrod and Joshua Shepard for the District 5 Commission seat, Elrod won with almost 800 more votes than his opponent Shepard.
Voter turnout during the early voting period was pretty light. Today is much better. I can tell you here it's a little over 500 at the beginning of the last hour.
Only about 13% of the county's registered voters participated yesterday, casting over 7,500 ballots. Voters we spoke to in Jackson County said their main concern in this election was immigration.
How about the border?
Man, the number one thing is the border. You know, I just feel like we're being overrun by who knows who.
I'm just surprised I'm not run over with illegals.
Elections Director Jennifer Logan said she expects a larger turnout for the Georgia state primary election taking place May 21st. With Grady Newsource, I'm Molly Langdon.
Moving along in our election coverage, Madison County was a little quiet throughout the day yesterday. Grady Newsource reporter Anna Ruth Riggins was there and has more on the turnout.
Madison County is a smaller town with a population of under 30,000 people, but some residents are still taking the initiative to vote in the 2024 presidential primary election.
I wish we had a little bit better of a turnout, but it's just not, I don't know the reasoning for it or whatever, but we're just slow.
Only 3,461 people voted out of the 21,266 registered voters in Madison County. 2,838 of the 3,123 Republican voters were for Donald Trump, while 320 of the 339 Democrats voted for Joe Biden. As of March 8th, only 170 people had voted, which was the end of advanced voting.
I think what we're hearing here in Danielsville is a lot of people think that we're still early voting. They're looking at the news and they're looking at this or the whatever, and it's telling them one thing and they're getting a little confused.
Dean said she expects more of a turnout for the Georgia state primary, which is May 24th.
I just left work early to come vote. I have heard before I left work, I worked with a coworker. I said, "Oh, are you going to vote?" She goes, "Oh, I don't vote the primary. I'll just do the big election."
Today I come here really to vote with all my heart because I think this country needs a really positive change.
For Grady Newsource, I'm Anna Ruth Riggins.
In Barrow County, Grady Newsource reporter David Everly took a look at why voters in Statham were heading to the polls and what issues were most important going into the November elections.
Here at the Statham Fire Station, vehicles were pulled out and the bay doors were open to voters in Barrow County's 5th precinct. While the matchup for the November presidential election may have seemed to be predictable, some voters still took to the polls with almost 876,000 votes cast across the county.
It's been kind of slow, actually. Normally we have a pretty good turnout here in Statham because our precinct is one of the biggest here in Barrow County. But today, I think the last count, we've done a little over 400 people that have voted today.
In Barrow, Donald Trump won an 84% share of Republican votes, and incumbent Joe Biden won a 92% share of Democratic votes. Voters we talked to said their choice to vote today was in support of their constitutional right.
I know it's important for to be an example for my kids, and also just to make sure that I honor the people that came before me that fought so hard for me to be able to vote.
Just to have my voice heard. I can't complain if I don't vote.
It's my duty to come and vote. I was in the Army, so I know what it means to have the right to vote.
But this is where the similarities seem to end between Republicans and Democrats, with voters having drastically different views of what matters the most this election cycle. For some Democratic voters who came out, issues stem from the polarization of the country.
The last Republican president, I was not happy with the way that things are going. I just, I think that the country was a little bit more divided at that time.
For Republican voters, their decision has come from hot-button issues this election cycle.
Number one is the border. Number two, the inflation prices of everything. People can't keep making enough money.
But despite low turnout and the differing opinions on the future of our country, people were still in good spirits.
Most of the people are excited to be able to come out and vote, and we've had a lot of fun today with people coming in.
For the Barrow County presidential preference election, I'm David Eberly, Grady Newsource.
We go now to Oconee County. Grady Newsource reporter Jack Shields was there yesterday to observe the election process and talk to voters.
The Oconee County Civic Center, which is one of several polling locations that I visited today in Oconee County, where most of the voters that I talked to said immigration was one of the main issues driving them to the polls.
Immigration.
Illegal immigration.
And issues at the border.
Of course, the border.
Former President Donald Trump received 3,460 votes in Oconee County, a commanding 77% of Republican ballots. Nikki Haley received 858 votes despite dropping out of the race last week.
I would like to see some order brought to immigration.
President Biden won 94% of Democratic votes, but many of the voters I spoke to were unimpressed with the economy and government spending.
There's plenty of money to spend, but we spend in a negative manner.
Younger voters shared concerns about the economy, but also said they weren't excited about the likely two-horse race between Trump and Biden.
At this point, I'm not really sure if I can vote for Biden or Trump. I don't really feel like I can.
I wish there wasn't one option. I think that I'm not really okay with that, but here we are.
Gen Z voters also mentioned issues that weren't on the minds of most of the voters I talked to.
Definitely education would be a big one. I feel like there are a lot of issues with the education system as it stands today.
Foreign policy, I feel like it's a big issue, especially with the conflict going on in Israel and with Palestine.
The event coordinator here at the Civic Center told me that this is the lowest voter turnout he's ever seen, but he expects voters to be out in numbers when the general election rolls around this November.
When we come back, we'll talk to expert Audrey Haynes about the election results in Georgia and what to expect in November.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
You know, a lot of people say, when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, that's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Returning to the Georgia primary results, I talked to political science professor Audrey Haynes for more perspectives on the vote. Georgia's election contribute to the final amount of delegates that Biden and Trump needed to secure their nominations?
Well, with Biden, Georgia put Biden over the top.
in the 50% plus one category of the delegates needed. And it would take a little bit more for Trump in another state to get where he needed to be. But in the end, both of them, at this time point, have earned the nominations of their respective parties.
So Georgia was a key state to winning the election in 2020. As the presidential nominees continue to campaign, what makes Georgia continue to be a key state to focus on the general election coming up?
Well, that is because if everything that happens in the general election is really based on the strategic response to the Electoral College. And we look at that map, the Electoral College map, and right now, based on forecasting, there are a number of states, roughly about 6, that are considered to be swing states, which means they are in play. And Georgia is still one of those. You might not think that from some of the recent polling, but another poll that just came out today has Georgia listed as Trump versus Biden within the margin of error. It's that close. And I would also add that there's a lot that can happen in 8 months.
After the break, Grady Newsource reporter Mackenzie Baker has your 5-day weather forecast.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please. I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back. I'm Mackenzie Baker with your 5-day weather forecast. We had an absolutely beautiful day here in Athens. Temperatures reached a high of 74, and tonight will drop to 46. Thursday is going to be even warmer with a high of 80. Don't forget to grab sunglasses as you head out the door. Skies are going to be clear and sunny. As we move into Thursday night, we'll cool down to a low of 54. On Friday, make sure you have an umbrella since there's an 80% chance of rain. The high is going to be 75, slightly cooler than Thursday, and drop to 59 at night. Moving into St. Patrick's Day weekend, we're hoping luck will be on the weather's side. There's a slight chance of showers scattered throughout Saturday despite the rain. The high is going to reach 75. We might even get a few rainbow sightings. Expect a few evening showers and a low of 52. On St. Patrick's Day Sunday, you might want to look for 4-leaf clovers earlier. There's a 30% chance of showers throughout the day with a high of 73. The chance of rain drops as the night goes with the temperature. Rain or shine, don't forget to wear something green. I would have worn something green today. However, there's a reason why I didn't. The green screen doesn't seem to like it. That's going to do it for weather. Coming up after the break, Lucy Birch has the latest sports news.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding, Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. I'm Lucy Birch reporting on all things sports today. The Georgia football program hosted its annual Pro Day event today. This is an opportunity for players to showcase their talents in front of NFL coaches before the draft officially arrives. The 2 highest-rated players, Brock Bowers and Amarius Mims, aren't taking part due to hamstring issues. UGA men's tennis has a match against Texas tomorrow at 5. If you are one of the lucky first 100 students, then you can receive a Georgia tennis dime. Coming off of their win against Georgia State on Sunday, UGA's men's tennis have a tough test against their 12th-ranked Texas. UGA's baseball is killing it this season. They have 17 wins with only 1 loss to Michigan State. Star player Charlie Condon has 13 home runs already. They play Kentucky this Friday. In other news, UGA basketball team is hitting the court tonight in the SEC tournament at 9:30. The 11th-ranked Bulldogs are playing against the 14th-ranked Missouri Tigers. ESPN gives UGA a 69% chance of winning. That's all for sports.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
You're home before sunrise. On top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
$800,000 in federal grant aid is coming to Athens. Grady Newsource reporter Karina Murray shares how this can impact Athens-Clarke County communities.
Thorne and Oglethorpe Avenues in downtown Athens will receive a boost to upgrade infrastructure along the roads, according to U.S. Senator John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock. Eric Zimmering, Associate Professor for the Department of Public Administration and Policy at the University of Georgia, says with this funding from the government, it will allow local resources to be spent on other things.
It allows Athens-Clarke County to invest in a local transportation project, and it allows them to use federal funds instead of local funds to get an important road and infrastructure project accomplished. So,
the project has 3 goals: to improve quality of life, improve safety, and increase connectivity by reconnecting communities, and some Athens community members are looking forward to it.
I think that's a really good idea. Personally, I ride the bus.
Associate Professor Zimmering says, through the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, over $3.1 billion was invested in the Neighborhood Access and Equity Program, and Athens is seeing a small but helpful portion of
but
the
it does
funding.
help the local community invest in an infrastructure project in an underserved neighborhood or community.
Senator Ossoff and Reverend Warnock said that this year Georgia will receive over $122 million in federal resources for transit infrastructure upgrades for this fiscal year of 2024. I'm Karina with Grady Newsource.
Do you have bags of old clothes that you just don't know what to do with? Grady Newsource reporter Jessica Moore finds that consignment shops like Labels may have a solution.
Have you ever felt like you couldn't wear that fun statement piece more than a few times? While this may seem like a first world problem, the culture around us is responsible for creating mass amounts of textile waste. In 1 year, over 17 million pounds of textile waste ends up in landfills.
Textiles can take over 200 years to decompose in landfills.
Consignment shops like Labels work to combat this problem and give clothes a new life and a second home.
It's interesting to see what a big difference a store like this can make.
Around 15% of Americans shop at consignment or resale shops during a given year. At Labels, you can bring in a bag of your unwanted clothes and they will sort through them, pick the pieces they want to sell, and you get a cut of the profit.
Consumption is an issue, especially in college girls. I feel like a lot of us tend to buy the same clothes in the same colors, the same styles, when really we could all be sharing a lot of those clothes.
Labels store owner Katie Goodwin says the store has at least 5,000 pieces available to shop. However, Labels has to limit what they take.
So we are kind of picky, especially when the store gets to be really busy as well and packed with clothes. We have to be more picky when it comes to that. So then we are having to send more items back to customers.
If the store is overfilling, Labels will offer to donate the clothes they didn't accept for you.
We donate to Project Safe, which is just down the road from here, and all the items that they accept go to women who have experienced abuse, domestic violence, and things like that.
Owner Katie Goodwin says that around 70 to 90% of items sell and go to a new home within the 90-day consignment time frame. Jillian is a Labels customer, and she also runs her own clothing account.
A lot of the pieces that are more high-end definitely get more rentals and get more sales in comparison to those fast fashion brands.
Working to slow textile waste may be a long road, but a great place to start is in your own closet. Jessica Moore, Grady Newsource.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Ashley Simmons with Grady Newsource. We will see you back here on Monday at 5. Thanks for tuning in and have a great night.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew a girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, that's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
That's your mind. Okay, you can, if you want to say that part, you can. If you want me to say it, it's up to you.
And you can tell them about the mics as well.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Hey.
Hello, guys. Hello. All right.
Yeah, so I thought you guys did a great job today. Just a few notes from the tech team. Just try to balance your audio and your packages. We had to kind of ride the audio a little bit. And also just try to have your packages in by 4:30. It really helps us on the tech team side of things to get everything in and not be scrambled last minute. Also, one last note, the microphones, these handheld mics right here, are turned on. So if you're going to speak during the post show, don't worry about turning them on. They're already on and ready to go for you guys. That's all I have.
Thank you, Andrew. That was a very smooth show. Lots of moving parts. And I think this was the first time we tried the live in the newsroom. That was the first time. I think it went very well. And yep.
I don't really have much else to add. You guys were awesome. I loved what we tried in here. I thought it was super fun. So if you guys want to do that again, please do. The only thing is, if you're my friendly reminder from tech is if you're gonna do something wacky, like use a camera we don't usually use, or do a live shot somewhere crazy or whatever, let us know as soon as we can, just so that we can get prepped on our end. And what Andrew said about please get your packages in by 4:30 so that we can get them all organized, because it's harder on our volunteers to get organized at 4:58 than it is at 4:30. So if we could.
Kira, one thought, I have to look at Sarah again, but I thought maybe if she was standing on this side and had her papers here, I'd like to try that look.
We definitely can try it.
Yeah.
We looked at a few of the cameras
Did you
in here.
did you look at it? Maybe it's not doesn't look as good.
The only reason we didn't is because we were using that camera back there.
Yeah.
And it made her look far away.
Okay.
Like, it made her look smaller
Too small.
than she
Okay,
was
got it.
in real life. So we'd have to play with it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
How can we
mess
get
with
her closer to the camera?
it. We'd have to play with it a little bit.
What about this camera? Maybe we can play with this one where she's.
Yeah.
And then we have that in the background, which is running whatever she's monitoring, or bring it closer here, because that
Yeah,
is
we
can roll that in. Yeah. How about what do you
Yeah,
guys
we must
think?
have to roll the smartboard up.
Yeah. If we roll this here, and she is standing closer, we can play with that. What do you guys think?
We'll have to play with it.
Sarah, what do you think? Because you looked tiny, you looked beautiful, but I was like something. Yeah, I have to look at it again. Yeah, but I'm really happy that we experimented with this.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah.
Keep doing fun things.
Yeah,
Keep doing
yeah.
crazy things that aren't just, basic, regular, average. Keep doing super fun, exciting
Yes.
stuff everywhere.
Thank you, Kira. Very clean show. Really appreciate
Shout out
it.
to our volunteers, because they rock.
Yes. Yeah, guys, and Kira was telling me you guys impressed everybody. It was just so interesting, all these little perspectives that you brought from every single county. You did sort of the same thing. You asked, you talked to voters, you talked to election officials, and did you notice how different everything looked and everything felt? All these little counties, no matter how tiny they are, no matter how close they are, there was just a different vibe in each one of them, and it was just wonderful and very, very interesting. And so I really thank you for that, and would love to hear any thoughts, anything you'd like to share moving forward, because that was something you'd never done before. And politics is not easy, and I worked with some of you to kind of flesh out the statistics, because some of you thought that they should compare the number of votes that Trump got and the number of votes that Biden got, and it turned out that one of them was winning more votes compared to the other. However, this is not your usual election. The two weren't running against each other. They were running in separate races, if I'm making sense, against candidates from their own party. So if you said Biden won with 365 votes, but Trump won with 1,300 and whatever, if you don't compare to the total number of votes, then you're misleading the public, because, and that was the case with one of you, where when I looked at the statistics, it turned out that Biden had won more votes than Trump when you compare them to the total in one of the counties, for example. Am I making sense? So that's a different kind of election. It's not the two, like in the general election, of course we'll compare that because they will be running against each other. But here they weren't running against each other. So, and that was not in every package. Some of you got them right, and I really, I enjoyed and every single thing, but I thought this is important to explain the difference between a primary election and a general election. Any questions? Am I making sense? So we were in a way comparing apples to oranges when we were doing that, because they're two, think of them as two separate elections, the primaries. And then in November, they will be running against each other. So yeah, with the mayor, that was a big get, and I want to again emphasize how important it is when you have a big get like the mayor, who's embroiled in this controversy, who was heckled, just 2 weeks ago. What are the security measures you're taking? Lots of the voters are saying immigration is top on our mind, security is top on our mind. It's really important to take that opportunity, because that's something you want for your real, and that's something as a real journalist you need to get for. I know you're tired. I'm tired too. Yeah. That's okay. I'm just joking. So I'm impressed that you guys got the mayor, but for everybody's sake, I just want to remind you how important it is. And Carly, I don't want you to feel bad about that. Yeah, she still feels bad about it. No, you shouldn't. You should feel bad about that. You know why? When? If you let that happen again, and you're not going to do it. I know you're not. But that was a very strong package, the two of you. I know a lot of you worked as teams, and you had other classes, you had other things, and you still, all of you did quite incredible coverage. And I really, really, really appreciate it. I was really, really happy and proud of you. Anything else I wanted to? Yeah. And there were some of you who were summarizing, and it turned out that you know, one package had, like the script said, you know, that 400 people voted. The next sentence says, all voters, kind of implied that all voters thought that immigration was a big issue. And I joked and asked, you know, did you actually talk to all 400 voters? No. And so the workaround is to say the voters that I talked to or we talked to said that this was on the top of their mind. So you see, it's a subtle difference, but it makes you look transparent and it makes you look credible, because people will not buy that, you know, 400 people voted and everybody said, you know, that this. There's no way we can talk to all people, so we have to be very careful on how we phrase things. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? So that's another thing, you know. I wanted to make sure the mayor thing, if it happens to you, take advantage of it. And yeah, and just be very transparent. The people that we talked to, or that I talked to, told me this or that. Yes. I'm still seeing some shaky video. Please avoid that. I saw some shaky video because it's very distracting, and it's a package that if you want to put on your reel, you don't want to put it on your reel unless you go and shoot, you know, with a tripod, and you don't want to do that because you worked hard on your package. Yeah, and don't avoid scrolls and website scrolls. Make your own graphics. There was one package where you had the Georgia State results, but they were just so confusing because there's so many other people running. So just some of you made great graphics, very simple, with just the two candidates who won, and that works very good. Avoid websites, and you also had a website which was kind of moving up and down. Make your own graphic, because you never know, this could be copyrighted also. So don't avoid that, and it really confuses the viewer because they need something very simple in broadcast. Yes. Let's see. Ashley, very pleasant delivery. However, try to vary your delivery. It was pleasant in the same way. But like the election coverage was more or less the same tone, but then change the tone for different, some packages are more serious, others are, you know, so change your demeanor with respect to the packages, you know, and what, like for Audrey Haynes, you could have gone a little more serious because that is some analysis, right? And take a look at, you looked much better when you put your hands on the desk. Otherwise, that's what I've been told also, that it looks like, not that we're doing this, but like we have something to hide when we're nervous, or, yeah. And gesture from time to time to emphasize a point where it comes natural to you. But, you know, that takes time and practice. It doesn't happen in your first show. Have you anchored before, or this is your first one? Yeah, it doesn't happen with the first one, trust me. Yeah, but you were very pleasant, the starting point is very good. Just try to think more as you're reading about the script and vary the tone a little bit. So that would be my advice. And keep the hands, that's why I told you I always want to have a pen, because then it prevents me from keeping my hands clasped, which again is conveying to the viewer that I am nervous and I'm closed to you. Yes, weather and sports were really good. I missed the green thing because we were scrambling to time the show and save Karina's package. And so we didn't look up when you were doing your little, and I'm going to look at it. I was so looking forward to you with your green thing, but we missed it. Abby and I were like, we were looking forward to it, but then we were all, you know, just trying to save Karina's package and time that show. Yeah, and so we missed that moment. I'm sure it was beautiful. Sarah, very well done for our first, you know, and that was not an easy story to pull off. And we needed something newsy. And I think you did a great job. You had both sides of the story, and I'm glad that you managed to pull. A lot of you had diverse sources, which I really liked. We need to think about that. And yeah, so in general, I'm really proud of you guys and really happy about how this was not easy and was quite a sophisticated show, and it was really good. I'm proud of you, and I'm going to be showing it to other students. Anything, let's see, I would love to hear from you guys. Should we hear from our producers first? Abby?
I want to say everyone did so well with the election coverage.
I think so too.
That was amazing.
Even though if I don't say anything, you're not learning anything. So that's why I'm saying something. Yeah. Very well done. Very well done.
All those packages were great, and everyone pulled through with their counties, so that was great. I will say, on the producing side, it did get a little stressful. I think it's really just because of the interview being late, and then around that time is when everyone's packages start going in, so you have to actually start seeing how the timing is going to work. So that was kind of stressful to deal with, but I think that's just something that kind of comes with producing, is that you have to kind of scramble towards the end. But other than that, the tech team did a great job of making sure everything went really smoothly, even when we were kind of scrambling and moving things around. So
yeah, we did move quite a few things around.
Yeah, so I guess that ended up working out really well, and I feel like the show went pretty smoothly.
So you don't hate producing?
No.
That was very good. So Emily, do you want to let us know what you did on digital? I'm curious. I'll take a look later, but I wasn't able to take any looks at digital.
Yeah, I think we did a good bit. We got some Instagram stories, a couple Instagram posts. Because we didn't have the Grady Daily, Taft actually had a really good idea of to go down right before they went live to get them to say one interesting thing about their segment, which I thought was really good. People seemed to like it. And then, just Facebook stories, Instagram posts, YouTube videos. I mean, we pretty much hit every platform except.
Wonderful. I look forward to seeing. Twitter. Yeah, regarding the Grady Daily, it's got to be done 11:30ish. It's got to be primary sourced. AP, CBS, Athens Banner Herald are good background sources, but they are not sources for anything you do. So I just want to remind you guys that each script has to be approved by me. When I say your script is approved, that's when it's approved. Until I've said that and slacked you, it's not approved, and it's got to be primary sourced. What I do, if I'm having trouble finding a primary source, I look at, if it's AP, I look at their sources, and I go to their primary sources, or that gives me an idea where I can look and how I can find a primary source. So that is the way I do it. And I also Google around, and just kind of primary sources pop up with a keyword also. So that would be my advice. But nothing gets on air unless it's been approved. And please remind me. You see how things get very busy. And remind me if I haven't looked at your package, and just bug me so that I do. Because there's only so much I can do when all these scripts hit me. I just go one after the other and try to get things done. But nothing goes on air without my approval and without being primary sourced. And yes, and I've been known to say no to Grady Dailies if they're past 1 p.m. or something like that. It's just too late to get them done. So that's the reason why we couldn't get that done. So that's from me. Anybody else wants to learn something? Wants to share something? Please do.
During the election coverage, I mean, I was in there, but it all looked really good. And I think this is just something we should keep in mind, but just having so many sources and especially like just everyday people is really interesting.
And diverse, all sorts of young, old, and
yeah, it was really
black
interesting.
and all sorts of people, you know.
So just thought you guys did really good.
Not the most proud of my package, so I do want to start with that. But I do want to say I think the fact that you always tell us to have a plan B story is important. But I think something that I realized today was also because we go into it with having the story idea in our mind and it could completely change, but also have a different angle that you could take the story or a different way you want to represent the story. Because like for me today, the person I thought I was going to speak to and like the way I was going to talk about the story, they actually ended up emailing me back saying they couldn't talk about it today because of X, Y, and Z. But I was like, wait, this story is still important and somebody could still talk about it this way. So I think sometimes like we can get super stressed, so we like shut down, or we be like, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. But like, if you already kind of are thinking about your stories in multiple ways, you think of multiple sources, like she said, I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I honestly, Karina, I've never had a story that actually turned out the way I expected it. I mean, more or less, yeah, the topic is the same, but it's always an adventure. You never know what B-roll you will get. You have to get sometimes very creative with your B-roll, especially when it's buildings and infrastructure. You know, yours wasn't easy because it was about infrastructure. But try to have dynamic shots of people moving and walking, and people are interesting. And the more sources, the better. I say 2 sources, but that's hardly enough. For many, many stories, you need more sources. 2 are okay, just to get something that's objective, right? That has at least both sides of the story, and sometimes stories have more than 2 sides, very often, yeah. So, but right, yeah, that's a great point, yeah. But I'm really happy with all of you, and I really thank you for taking this so seriously and working so hard. I really appreciate it. I know you have other classes and stuff, and you still did it. Okay, how about I let you 8 minutes early for all your hard work. And thank you guys. You should feel all